Regional Director for the International Nitrogen Initiative, Dr. Tariq Aziz, to please come and discuss the efforts that Pakistan is making towards sustainable nitrogen management.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Dr. Amish. I would like to thank all of you, particularly the people from the ministries, the civil society, the experts, academics, and the participants from different provinces. But we warmly welcome the participants from SANH, Balochistan, and KPK, and also from Punjab. This is really pleasing, and I would like to welcome also the Ministry of Climate Change, and thanks to the Ministry of Climate Change who always supported this whole process. And thank you, Mark, for joining us. I know that it's really early in the morning, and you are awake for us. Thank you. So I would briefly discuss on the Pakistan's perspective and need for the new resolution. As Dr. Mazhar and Dr. Mark has set the scene, that nitrogen is the life. Without nitrogen, there is no life. We have to provide the nitrogen as a synthetic fertilizer, and almost 50% of current global food production relies on synthetic nitrogen fertilizer. Means if we just omit nitrogen from the system, the food production will decrease by about 50%. We cannot go beyond. So food security is one of the major issues which is relevant with the nitrogen. So we need to sustainably manage the nitrogen resource. Nitrogen is a resource. So we are not advocating for low input nitrogen, because in some of the cases, particularly for the fertilizer industry, it's really alarming that someone is calling with the ministry and the policies that nitrogen is a pollution. Of course, it's a pollution, but this is essential for the food security. We need to wisely manage, we need to sustainably manage this resource. So because reactive nitrogen compounds, these are essential for the very existence of life on this planet, but excess of this, if the resource is not widely used, excess of everything is poison. So we are polluting our air, water, resources. It causes the biodiversity loss, it causes climate change, and the whole ecosystem. So coming to nitrogen, it is, if we see, it's not visible on the across all of the sustainable development goals. And there is only 6 years for the target here, but the nitrogen is not visible, although it is linked with all of the sustainable development goals in one or the other way. So we need to make it visible in the policies. As Dr. Mazhar has said, that nitrogen pollution has already crossed planetary boundaries. So this is the actual time, this is the real time to act, this is the real time to make awareness. So ignoring its limit, our ability to deal with other planetary boundaries. So if you provide excess nitrogen, it has linked with many of the other sustainable development goals, and in specific countries like in developing countries, particularly in Africa, if you do not apply nitrogen, there may be mining from the soils. So sustainable nitrogen management is the main slogan. And particularly nitrogen action, nitrogen for climate with multiple co-benefits. If you act on nitrogen, action on both nitrogen and carbon is needed to reach net zero. Without action on nitrogen, you cannot achieve simply the net zero. So halving nitrogen waste globally, it was a slogan, it was a campaign, Colombo Declaration also in 2019, and South Asian Nitrogen Hub was also a part of this. It offers actually about $300 billion per year in innovation opportunity to stimulate green recovery. So if we can manage just by reducing the waste only by 50%, there is a chance to offer $300 billion annually, and simultaneous benefits for climate, health, and nature through cleaner air, water, and stratospheric ozone protection. Recently, in the 2024, we have launched the Global Nitrous Oxide Assessment, and the INI director, Dr. David, was the main leader, and I have honor to be the co-author of this. And it has reported that about millions of deaths can be prevented if you reduce only the nitrogen pollution through the air pollution. So, coming to South Asia, because I'm also representing the regional center of the International Nitrogen Initiative from the South Asia, it's a recognized global hotspot for the nitrogen pollution. And if you see the nitrogen use in the South Asia, it is increasing dramatically. And coming to South Asia, it's having 25% of the global population with only less than 5% of the landmass. So ecosystem services of the South Asia are already under severe pressure. We have to produce more with very little landmass, very little resources. So we have to apply more and more fertilizer. Of course, it's very relevant that if you see the trend analysis, the nitrogen application in the fields have been increased and the production has been increased. But we have estimated that about 36% increase in ammonia emission, more than 100% NOx emissions, and 36% increase in the nitrous oxide have been observed in just 15 years, 2000 to 2015. This is alarming. And these increases are higher than the global average increases. So South Asia is really a hotspot, but also an area to be addressed very wisely. So similar increase in nitrogen use and nitrogen emissions have been observed in Pakistan during the period. And Pakistan contributes, of course, less than 1% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. But it's the most vulnerable country to the climate change. Just remember the 2022 floods. So, of course, we are not contributing much in the global greenhouse gas emissions, but we are the victims. We need to act. We need to act that the others may not pollute. We should also, that we are not going to pollute, but we have to see how the global leaders or the member states are working on it. So coming to the climate risk index of 2025, Pakistan is on the top. Initially, it was among the 5. Now, recent German watch has elaborated that Pakistan is #1 on the climate risk index. And if you see, we have either the water in our houses, in the residences, in the buildings, everywhere, or we do not have even water for drinking. So extremes are there. We need to act. And if you see the nitrogen status or the quick facts from the Pakistan from 2018, because we were working with the South Asian Nitrogen Hub as a lead partner from Pakistan. So nitrous oxide, nitrogen oxides, and ammonia, they are increasing. It's increased as, and recent 2022, the NDCs from the ministry, there are some, you can say, availability of the opportunity. There are opportunities that if we can manage nitrogen, we can reduce the nitrous oxide emissions. The opportunity is there, because if there is less efficiency, it is also a danger as well as the opportunity that we can increase the efficiency. And we have also published that the nitrogen use efficiency in Pakistan up to 2018, it was less than 30%. And as per recent estimates from the Food and Agriculture Organization, it's about less than 35%. So this is huge, that a farmer is applying 100 kilogram of nitrogen and only 35 to 40 or maximum. If you apply by very good practices, maybe 50 to 60% can be captured by the plants. But on an average, it's less than 30%. So assume that 60 kg out of 100 kg is being lost. But this is a huge opportunity that if we can increase the nitrogen use efficiency, we can improve the profit as well as we can improve our climate, we can improve our environment. So total emissions, about more than 1,000 gigagrams of the ammonia, with a 42% increase from 2000 to 2022, and NOx and nitrous oxide. And if we see the sector contributors, main So 84 to 85% of the ammonia and nitrous oxide emission are from agriculture sectors, but the NOx emissions are mainly from the fossil fuel burning or the transport sectors and the energy sectors. So NOx emissions doubled since 2000, driven by the combustion sectors. Transport NOx alone rose 62% from 2000 to 2015. And in the South Asia Nitrogen Hub, we have analyzed the available nitrogen policies, any policies which are directly or indirectly relevant to nitrogen management. And we have published a report, National Nitrogen Policy Report. This is available in the soft copy, and we can share it if you require. So historical growth in nitrogen input in Pakistan, you can see that it rose from about 499 gigagram nitrogen in 1960 to more than about 4,855 gigograms. So it's a huge increase. Of course, it has produced the food. It's necessary. But the fertilizer-derived emissions jumped from 9 gigagrams to about 758 gigagrams by 2018, and nitrous oxide from 1 to 86. Dramatic increase. So nitrogen waste is valued at over US $200 billion annually based on the urea and the food prices. This is a huge amount. So why? The nitrogen efficiency is a national priority. Why we are looking on it? So food security, number one, as I have discussed, enhanced nitrogen use efficiency actually improves food crop productivity. It reduces dependence on costly input and strengthens climate resilience. Environmental gains, lower nitrogen losses reduces air pollution, particularly the particulate matter 2.5, which is one of the biggest source in the winter season when there is smoke. So water eutrophication, soil degradation, biodiversity loss, and greenhouse gas emissions. So climate action and environmental gains are there. Economic savings, reducing nitrogen waste can cover US $1.5 to 2 billion annually, a major win for farmers and the national economy as well. And most importantly, the public health. Reducing NOx and ammonia will cut PM 2.5 pollution, mitigating respiratory diseases and premature deaths. So major drivers that you see in Pakistan are population. Of course, it has been increased, and the shift from rural areas to the urbanization. Fertilizer use, livestock, energy mix, fossil fuel, vehicles, transport, and the protein intake. There are dietary shifts as well. So we are more consuming meat for the protein than the crops. Now, briefly, I will discuss on the Pakistan's efforts towards sustainable nitrogen management or the global leadership or the leadership. Pakistan has been at the forefront of the global nitrogen management efforts, advocating for sustainable nitrogen policies at Environment Assembly, UNFCCC Climate, and high-level political forum at New York, COP29 at Baku, and other key international platforms. We have organized official side events in which different member states, particularly from Japan, Maldives, Romania, and many others, they participated, and we discussed on the global efforts and the need to work on sustainable nitrogen management, both at regional level as well as at the global levels. So Ministry of Climate Change, I would appreciate, in collaboration with the UAF and the global partners, conducted multiple these consultative sessions during 2023-24 with various government departments, ministries, experts adopting the nitrogen resolution. And this is almost from the South Asia Nitrogen Hub and the ministry. It's, I think, the fourth consultative session, two with the ministries. One we conducted at Karachi, particularly for the province of Sindh, and then at Lahore. So this is a process of consultation. The government of Pakistan has reaffirmed its intention during UNEA6, where Prime Minister's coordinator was there, and she reaffirmed that Pakistan is going to submit the next resolution and COP29 side events to submitting the third nitrogen resolution at the UNEA7. So recognizing the cross-sectoral impacts of nitrogen, Pakistan is working to integrate nitrogen management into national climate, biodiversity, and pollution policies. And this is why the members from various departments, ministries, and experts are invited to take their inputs. So some of the global engagements which Ministry of Climate Change and University of Agriculture in collaboration with particularly the INMS, I would highly appreciate the Compassion in World Farming, INI, and particularly the University of Agriculture, Faisalabad. So we have conducted we have supported UNEA 5. There was Colombo Declaration in 2019, and Pakistan was one of the signatory of the Colombo Declaration. Then in 2021, Pakistan hosted the World Environment Day. This was a great event. And during this World Environment Day, Ministry of Climate Change in collaboration with UAF has conducted a webinar in which the executive director from the UNEP also participated. This is a great event. And many side events, Nitrogen for Net Zero COP26, it was actually hosted by Sri Lanka and supported by INMS and South Asia Nitrogen Hub. Then nitrogen, we published national nitrogen policy reports. And very importantly, Pakistan is also a member of the SAQIP, and there is South Asia Cooperative Environment Program. And under this program, South Asia Nitrogen Hub and SAQIP, they have collaborated to develop a roadmap for sustainable nitrogen management. And this was also a consultation process of the 8 South Asian countries. And in 3 or 4 in-person or online meetings, Pakistan participated actively. And there is a draft now, which is hopefully may be adopted in the next governing council body of the SAQIP. So Pakistan is leading, particularly in the South Asia as well as the national global level. So these were some of the examples how the Ministry of Climate Change and UAF and the other partners participated and conducted these nitrogen workshops, sustainable nitrogen workshops. And very importantly, there is a need to assess anything before going to act. And there are at the moment only 3 national nitrogen policies assessments. One is the European nitrogen policy assessment. The second one was from India, and we are honored to have the 3rd nitrogen assessment from the Pakistan as a case study, and it was published by the academic press. So it's available. Then we published the nitrogen policy report. So coming to the resolutions on sustainable nitrogen management in 2019, India submitted the resolution with the support of SAQIP member states. And initially the discussions was supported by Mr. Khurshid Alam, who was the Director General from Pakistan of the SAQIP. And this consultation resulted in the draft which submitted by the South Asia country. So this is one of the great events. Then the second resolution, which was submitted by the Sri Lanka and supported by Maldives and Pakistan. So Pakistan is in consultation already. And the first resolution, it has actually introduced the sustainable nitrogen management. Before this, there was less voice about nitrogen. All we know about climate, there is only discussions on the carbon. Now the people are discussing nitrogen. So resolution 5.2 asks to accelerate action to significantly reduce nitrogen waste globally by 2030 and beyond through the improvement of sustainable nitrogen management. So there is a Colombo Declaration, and there was coming Montreal Global Part of STIP framework, and Pakistan is one of the signatory too, where target 7 of this framework, it builds on the Colombo Declaration ambition, agreeing to reduce pollution risk and negative impact of pollution from all sources by 2030 to the levels that are not harmful to biodiversity and ecosystem functions and services considering climate. So already many of the countries, they have signed this agreement. So we have to do it. So some of the future challenges, as Professor Mark has already discussed some of these, that current governance strategies, both regionally, globally, and the national. And the approaches are fragmented because nitrogen is linked to many different sectors and every sector has its own policies. They're fragmented. and do not adequately address the global issue of nitrogen pollution and tripling of nitrogen fertilizers, particularly in 2022, linked to global instability, providing an economic threat to the farmers, governments, and the public, strengthens the motivation to reduce nitrogen waste and increase resilience through sustainable nitrogen management. So emerging development of utilizing ammonia as a nitrogen-based fuel. This is a great opportunity for the decarbonization, of course, but it has serious threats. There may be the pollution of ammonia, it may be increased. So we have to discuss this. And particularly, I would like to mention that government of Japan has already working on this. So is there a need for a third resolution? There are two resolutions and there is awareness. Member states know, but every subsequent UNEA resolution, like in the plastic resolution recently, it was adopted, take the way forward, take the work forward. So extending consensus and agreement on the shared actions like plastic pollution. So each new resolution thus actually sets the agenda for the years ahead, also keeping the topic in the public eye. So with national action plans now being developed as agreed in the second resolution, UNEA 5.2, there is an opportunity for the member states to crystallize the lessons learned in setting priorities for sharing and mutual support in the years ahead. There are only 5 years now, it's not 6 years, 5 years now to 2030, which are the target year for the Sustainable Development Goals. And if we are not working on the nitrogen, we cannot complement, we cannot complete our actions toward the Sustainable Development Goals because it is linked to many of these Sustainable Development Goals. So there's a need for a new resolution to further the agenda. Then strategic justification, why? So global momentum, as UNEA resolution, both resolutions created a mandate for national action plans. And member states, some of the member states are already working on it. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, there was a meeting of the nitrogen working group, and Dr. Mazhar is also a national focal point on this nitrogen working group. And nitrogen working group, different member states have discussed their national action plans, particularly government of Japan and government of Sri Lanka. They have discussed it, that they have developed and they have implemented. So there is a need to develop, and also the UNEA7 offers a critical window for Pakistan to shape the global governance framework. And of course, there is an opportunity for the regional leadership as a regional or the lead partner from South Asia Nitrogen Hub. Pakistan is well placed to advance regional consensus, backed by the technical capacity and a national nitrogen policy with the help of the ministries involved. So economic rationale is also there. Action on nitrogen is among the most cost-effective pathways to achieve sustainable development goals, particularly the zero hunger, clean water, climate action, and life on land. These are the major sustainable development goals, which are directly linked with the agriculture, particularly with the nitrogen. So recognizing 2030 as a milestone for SDGs, for the Colombo Declaration, and also for the coming Montreal framework, there is now a need for clarity on the priorities for agreement and actions between 2025 and 2030. So there are no reporting requirements beyond UNEA 6, and the executive director of UNEP has already submitted her report to the Assembly. So there is no current requirement. There is awareness, but no current agenda. So at UNEA 7 must therefore be to establish agreement to report progress back to UNEA 8 and UNEA 9 in the run-up to 2030. We need what actions will be there, what should be done. So a new resolution should reinforce these commitments and ensure integration with other international environmental agreements. And priorities, what are our priorities for the Pakistan particularly? Why Pakistan should do it? So agreeing on the need to develop a shared international approach for sustainable nitrogen action plans, because executive director have already said to the member states that they should submit the national action plans, they should work on it. And taking note of the emerging findings of international nitrogen assessment. This would be launched maybe in the December 2025. This is a global outcome of a global project which we are one of the partners, International Nitrogen Assessment, International Nitrogen Management Systems, and we are going to launch this International Nitrogen Assessment. And there are emerging messages out of this, that the cost of actions are clearly less than the damages. So we need to work on it, then the benefits as well. So taking note of emerging findings of INA and the global nitrous oxide assessments, institutionalize the intergovernmental coordination mechanism as it has been discussed in the UNEA4 as well. There is a constitution of nitrogen working groups, but how it will further move, there is a need that there should be some mechanism. Maybe there may not be a new agreement, but must be some mechanism that the existing multilateral systems these may cooperate. So we want to promote innovation in nitrogen circular economy. There is opportunity to invest. There is an opportunity to profit. So reviewing emerging risks, including the environmental impact of ammonia as a fuel, and support further research and policy recommendations to address the knowledge gaps, and include capacity building and financing commitments, because if there is a national action plan, the funds will be required. So we need to work on it. So these are the priorities, and I would highly acknowledge the Ministry of Climate Change, Government of Pakistan, particularly the people from Ministry of Food Security as well, the departments from various provinces, and the special thanks to SANH team and our colleagues at ComSets and us, particularly Dr. Saeed, Dr. Abdul Wakil, Amr Maqsood, Snaullah, Azhar Abbas, Aisha. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq Aziz.